need you to eat normally. I don't think I'm eating too much.
Two sisters are gaining weight fast, yet both are absolutely certain they're not eating too much. But they think they know the answer. Both of them blame what they call the middle-aged spread.
It's the only thing I can put it to, the middle-aged spread.
The weight gain that happens to most people as they hit their 40s, 50s, and 60s due to your metabolism slowing down. Now, we've all heard of this before, but what's the truth? Are these sisters really just gaining weight due to their age, or is there more to the story? Now, as far as the two sisters go, if you've ever seen the British TV show Secret Eaters before, you know that the contestants frequently come on the show wondering why they're gaining weight despite what they think is a perfectly healthy diet.
I don't think I eat the amount that my body is showing.
Yet the show always discovers that they are actually just eating way more than they think.
You got through 4,500 calories. You ate twice what the average woman needs.
And in this case, there definitely seems to be some cracks in their story right from the beginning because they catch them eating McDonald's on their way to meet with the show.
That is a burger.
So today we're discussing another episode of Secret Eaters and some of the psychology of overeating to potentially help you on your health journey. Also, the odd person likes to make the comment that I make these videos to shame fat people, except I was almost morbidly obese my entire life. The vibe here is always learning, not judging. So, yeah. But before we get into it, a message from today's sponsor, Zwilling. I've always had a love-hate relationship with non-stick pans. They're so easy to cook with, nothing sticks, obviously, so you can use very little oil and the cleanup is done in seconds. But that non-stick coating is made with PFAS, microplastics, and forever chemicals going right into our food. Obviously, not ideal, but the alternatives are not that much better. Stainless steel is amazing to cook with, but everything sticks unless you're really good at it or you drown it in oil. Ceramic pans are non-toxic, but in my experience, they cook kind of weird and the coating doesn't last. So I usually just accept it and come back to the standard toxic non-stick pan. But that's where Zwilling Peak changes things. It combines the searing power of stainless steel with the easy release of hybrid ceramic in one pan. For me, I've been waiting for an upgrade like this. The ceramic coating is completely non-toxic, no forever chemicals, none of the PFAS you're trying to avoid. So you get that dual performance without the stuff you don't want in your food. And it's got a raised stainless steel design built right into the surface, so you still get real browning, not the flat, steamed look you sometimes get from nonstick. Just look at this sear. Unlike normal ceramic coating, Zwilling Peak is extremely scratch resistant. It's even safe to use with metal utensils. It works on any stovetop, including induction, and it's dishwasher safe, though I personally always hand wash. It's even backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Zwilling is renowned for their knives and cookware, and they've been making kitchen tools since 1731, nearly 300 years. Honestly, I'm loving it. The technology is super cool. So if you're looking to make the switch, head to the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to learn more about the Zwilling Peak collection. Thanks to Zwilling for sponsoring this video. Today we meet two sisters, Tracy and Sharon. They are gaining weight at a very rapid rate.
So I'm a serial dieter.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Once I've had my tea, that's it, I don't eat.
I can't seem to lose it.
I'm not a snacker.
In just the last year, both of them have experienced very serious weight gain, and they both want to get to the bottom of how and why. Now, sister number one, Sharon, claims that this past year she moved back home to the UK from the Middle East and almost instantly put on a ton of weight after her weight never really being much of a struggle for her before. Now, the show does not mention why Sharon moved back to the UK. They tell us that she was living in Jordan for 19 years with her 3 kids. Then she moved home and then she gained weight. And I feel like in this case, 2 + 2 equals divorce, which would also kind of just make her weight gain immediately make sense. Mystery solved. You know what I mean? Stress eating, you just got divorced, you just moved all the way back to the UK. But the show actually doesn't talk about this at all. Maybe she didn't want to have her divorce brought up on TV. I don't know. I feel like it would have maybe been like a little bit of a helpful thing to talk about, like from the show, but they don't even bring it up. They're just like, yeah, she's gaining weight. But I feel like it could have been helpful, relatable. Now, as for sister number 2, Tracy, she's also put on a lot of weight in the last year to the tune of 42 pounds.
50-year-old social worker Tracy has put on 42 pounds in the last year alone.
The show literally just drops that and moves on immediately. They don't explain potentially why she gained 42 pounds in the last year. She has no clue. And unlike her sister, her life has been basically the same this past year, and she just has no idea why she's gained so much weight in such a short period of time. Now for me, if I went my whole life roughly the same weight and then just spontaneously put on 42 pounds in 1 year, I would be very concerned. Now the show does say that her weight has been kind of slowly climbing over the last 5 to 10 years, unlike her sister. But this isn't just like a steady climb now. Like, this is a big jump, a big change. It indicates that something major has changed in your lifestyle that's causing you to gain weight. And there's no and. Either you change something in your lifestyle that's causing you to now rapidly gain weight and you have to get to the bottom of it ASAP, or you have a gigantic tumor and you have to get to the bottom of it ASAP. Like, it's a very serious health problem, or it's a lifestyle problem, and you gotta figure it out ASAP. Now, I gained quite a lot of weight about 2 years ago now, and honestly, I was shocked the first time I stepped on the scale. It can happen a lot faster and a lot quicker than you think. But I knew why. My house burned down. I didn't have a kitchen for several months, and my diet went overnight from being mostly home-cooked, weighed out food to being a completely random mix of literally whatever overnight. Suddenly I was eating a lot more Solace ice cream sandwiches than ever before. So I knew what the problem was, and I wasn't that concerned. I knew what needed to change. In Tracy's case though, she has no idea, and she's hoping that the show will help her. And she needs their help quickly, because when the show weighs her in for the first time, they found that in addition to this weight gain over the last year, she put on a full stone, aka I think it's around 14 pounds, in just the last month.
15 stone 2. Put a stone on in just over a month.
Now, they ask her what she thinks about this, but her response is so British that I have no idea what she said, and we don't get any extra info.
So to actually be that within such a short space of time, it's just baffled me, really.
Now, I've listened to this clip enough times now to know what she actually says there, but did you know what she said?
So to actually be that within such a short space of time, it's just baffled me, really.
Because it probably took me 10 times to hear it. And then when I did hear it, it was so simple. So to actually be that in such a short space time, it's just baffled me, really. I kind of want to give you a spoiler right now of what happens, but this show does not figure out what the heck is going on with her weight. Doesn't know. Okay, you'll see. Now here's the thing, both the sisters have no idea where to start with this problem. That's why they called in the show. Because according to them, not only do they eat healthy, but they've both actually been dieting. So they think that not only should they not be gaining weight, but they actually should be losing weight.
Which means they should be losing weight rather than putting it on.
So we have two sisters who think they should be losing weight, they're eating healthy, and they're not eating too much. But what's the truth? Also, before we go any further, we have to address the elephant in the room. And it's that it's impossible to tell them apart. Taking my notes for this video, I would take a note about Tracy, and then after I'd be like, hey, what the hell? That's Sharon. And then I'd take a note about Sharon, and it would be Tracy. I wish we could edit a little bow on one of them or something, so we'd know who is who at all times, but it'd be too hard for me. Sharon is the one with the really soft voice.
I can't seem to lose it.
And Tracy is the one that you sometimes can't understand.
It's just baffled me, really.
Now, when pressed to answer how, why, where they could be going wrong, both sisters claim that it absolutely must be their age. Neither of them struggled with their weight growing up.
Were you chubby girls?
No, quite slim, wasn't we?
Both were thin all their lives, and then boom, they hit middle age and weight gain.
They say as you get older, your metabolism slows down. Mine really must be slowing down.
But here's the thing, this whole middle-aged metabolic slowdown thing, this was generally believed to be true for a very long time. The idea was as you age, your metabolism slows down and thus you gain weight. But a 2021 landmark study published in Science showed something amazing. It analyzed 6,600 people and it came to the conclusion that our metabolism does not slow down as we age. In fact, from about age 20 to about age 60, it stays completely stable. There is a quote-unquote metabolic slowdown, but it actually doesn't occur until after 60. And even then, it's very small. I think the researchers found that it was about 0.7% per year. But that doesn't mean that the middle age spread effect is not real. But we'll talk about that later. However, when it comes to these two sisters, we know that we at least can't blame their weight gain on slow metabolism. So the sisters actually agreed to move in together so that the show can start tracking them, put them on secret cameras, and send the private investigators to rifle through their garbage cans. And on night one, the show catches the two sisters going out to a nightclub until 2 a.m. I thought that was kind of impressive. I don't know if this is just a UK thing or what, but I would say here where I live, it would be pretty rare for two 50+ sisters to be like, hey sis, we're hitting the club. I don't know, maybe you can tell me what the vibe is where you're at, but definitely here, I don't hear of that much. Both the sisters have their little night out together. They have 2 drinks, 2 doubles, and then they go home. Tracy had 2 double Jack Daniels and Cokes, and Sharon had 2 double vodkas and oranges. Now, calorically, for a night like this, you are looking at about 450 calories in total, which is really not a big deal at all, especially if they were on their feet and dancing all night. I mean, this is not gonna kill you whatsoever. But what do we think that they did after their night out?
A cheeky chicken and chips.
Yes, a cheeky chicken and chips. I feel like this is the typical thing you do. You go out for a night drinking and then you come home and eat 1,200 calories of fast food. In this case, these sisters actually just got 1 portion to split. Very dainty, very reasonable portion. When we zoom in there, they seem to have gotten very few chips. They got a salad with it. Yes, the chicken is deep fried and squirted with what I'm assuming is mayonnaise, since almost every Secret Eaters episode ever has a mayonnaise moment, I swear. Apparently mayo is a very, very popular topping for British people, I guess. The thing is, for these sisters, I'm gonna go ahead and assume this type of event is a rare night out for them. And if so, they're crushing it, actually. A night like this really wouldn't mess with your weight at all. Like I said, particularly if you're actually dancing when you're out, you're killing it. They didn't chug alcohol. They came home at a pretty reasonable time. I mean, 2 a.m. is late, but it's not 5 a.m. And they impressively got like 1 piece of chicken each. Honestly, skinny legend behavior. Unless somebody's faking it. Because it turns out that Tracy is caught snatching up her sister's portion as soon as she goes to bed. Perhaps Tracy ordered a little less than she needed to feel satisfied, potentially because the cameras are watching her. And what's more, the show finds out that these nights are not a one-off for Tracy. As the show continues to monitor the two sisters, it catches Tracy in one of her absolute worst weight maintenance habits: alcohol consumption. The cameras find Tracy consuming a glass of wine, 2 shots of Tia Maria, a 4th drink, a mini bottle of wine, just like casually while she's out to see her family for the evening. Now, I think the show is filmed over a very, very short period of time. They say that it's a week, but sometimes they slip up and say like over the last 3 days. So you're like, Meaning that in reality, Tracy is likely consuming a lot of alcohol in her day-to-day life. The show actually ends up calling her a quote delusional drinker.
Someone who drinks on a regular basis but is completely unaware of the calories contained in alcohol.
Because according to them, they caught her consuming at least 400 calories of alcohol every single day during filming.
Over the course of a week, same number of calories, large stuffed crust pepperoni pizza.
With the wine, at least, she was also super, super secretive about it. She bought it while she was out with her sister, and then it never made it home.
So Auntie Tracy snuck a bottle of wine upstairs.
Oh my God.
And one of the craziest parts of this whole thing is that, according to Tracy, when they asked her to do her food diary before the show, she only recorded drinking 4 alcoholic drinks over 7 days. So that's all she tracked. But the show actually caught her drinking that amount in just the first day. So that's 2,800 calories a week. That's almost a full pound of fat in calories just from alcohol. That would amount to around 30 pounds of potential weight gain a year just from drinks. Not to mention, many studies have shown now that alcohol makes you much more likely to overeat. Not that anyone needed a study to confirm that, but it's been confirmed. It lowers your inhibitions and reduces self-control, making it way easier to overeat. And on top of it all, in addition to your night out of drinking, a lot of people find that they overeat the next day. And that's likely because alcohol messes with your sleep and it can affect your blood sugar the next day. So some people wake up in the morning, they're hungrier than usual, they're lazier than usual because they got a terrible sleep, they order Uber Eats or skip the dishes or whatever, and the cycle repeats itself. Not to mention, I gotta say here that over the last few years, there has been so much new info about how bad drinking alcohol is for your health. Now, obviously, no one thought alcohol was a health food, but over the last few years, it's gotten so serious that they've updated the guidelines to say no amount of alcohol is now considered safe for your health. Now, this is almost more crazy, but apparently before 2023, the guidelines said that men could consume up to 15 alcoholic drinks per week without a risk to their health, and women were allowed to consume up to 10. So that was considered to be within the realm of healthy. However, now it was changed to be just 2 drinks per week. That's a crazy change. And I guess the problem is even light and moderate consumption has been shown to increase your risk of several different types of cancers. I mean, I knew alcohol was unhealthy, but I didn't know it was that unhealthy. I haven't really been drinking, say, like for years now, but I definitely like to have a drink when I'm celebrating every once in a while. I don't know how long that would be. Like, I don't know, once every 4 months, maybe I'll have a drink. More in summertime, vacation, Christmas, but it definitely makes you think, like, and I knew it was bad, but it's crazy to hear just how bad. And the fact that the guidelines were so high for so long is also shocking. All around, very interesting stuff. But yeah, objectively, one of the absolute worst things you can do for both health and weight maintenance. It might be a hard pill to swallow for some people, but you truly cannot fit alcohol into a healthy lifestyle. Except I guess you can have 2 drinks per week. That's it. According to science, you're fine. But other than that, you should probably just go for 0. So according to science, you basically officially cannot fit alcohol into a healthy lifestyle. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you. But anyway, let's get to what Tracy actually eats in a day. Lou has joined us. Tracy actually claimed to have one of the cleanest diets ever mentioned on the show.
Just take me through the sort of food that you'd be eating during the day.
It was very like 2000s diet, classic diet.
Breakfast, I tend to have melon, fruit, strawberries, yoghurt. And then for my lunch, it tends to be salad with tuna or chicken with new potatoes, a bit of low-fat dressing.
Apparently her diet is so healthy to the point that she says this.
I'd probably be a lot bigger if I didn't eat so well.
And then completely randomly, the show doesn't mention what she eats for dinner or anything else at all. The only other thing the show tells us about what she eats is that she doesn't snack at all. She's adamant she is not a snacker, as she puts it.
I'm not a snacker. I'm not. Once that's it. Once I've had my tea, that's it. I don't eat.
And honestly, overall with Tracy, they get almost no footage of her eating anything at all. On day 1 though, the show does find that instead of the healthy breakfast she mentioned eating, Tracy actually skips breakfast entirely. And instead, she snacks on 7 biscuits throughout the morning. So already, she said she's not a snacker.
I'm not a snacker.
She definitely is snacking, at least once. And then that's basically it. In a shocking twist, the show actually gives up on Tracy because they got so little footage of her eating anything at all. We get a few clips of her eating dinner with her sister, stealing some fries, and then basically nothing else. The investigators actually end up coming to the conclusion that Tracy is going to lengths to conceal what she eats from the camera, because according to them, everything she's eating just makes no sense.
This week is not a typical eating week. No,
it's not a typical week.
Now, the show does not explain at all what they actually saw her doing, why they think that, just that they couldn't get enough footage to even record her eating much at all. Literally, calorically, we saw her consume more alcohol than anything else. It actually takes the show putting up secret cameras in her daughter's house to even get another clip of usable footage of her eating anything. In her daughter's house, she consumes some potato chips and, quote, 3 onion barges.
Tracy caught in the act snacking on 3 onion barges.
Now, I tried to figure out what an onion barge was. Closest thing I could find was potentially an onion bargie.
Onion bargie.
Which is some sort of deep fried onion fritter with like Indian spices. So I'm thinking this had to be it. In other words, another deep fried takeout type thing. And that's basically it. So anticlimactic, we don't get anything. No breakfast footage, no lunch footage. Honestly, really the only thing you could say about Tracy was that she's a snacka because we exclusively saw her have snacks.
You got through 1,000 calories just in snacks.
That's quite a lot.
Now, on one hand, there is a huge problem with plucking someone out of their house and then moving them into their sister's house to try and track what they're eating. It's not your own fridge. It's not your own kitchen. And I don't know about you, but I'm not going to go over to my brother's house and just start like opening up his fridge and like eating his food the way I would normally eat at my house. She probably didn't have her normal foods even there. And the thing about habits is no one has bad habits built up in someone else's house. Habits are extremely location dependent. That's why if you move to a new house, it's one of the absolute best times to try and change your habits because everything is disrupted for a very short period of time. So it gives you that opportunity to actually change your behavior. But yeah, virtually 99% of people are not going to behave the exact same way as they would normally at someone else's house. Plus, you know, there's the added thing of like every time you open the cupboard, there's like a little mechanical sound as the thing zooms into your face while you're trying to eat something. However, on top of that, it's pretty obvious that Tracy was also trying to lie to the show. She was always glancing at the camera. She hid the wine, the chips, the bhajis. She decided to share a portion of takeout when she really wanted her own, probably. Plus, whatever the detectives saw that they didn't tell us, all of it together suggests Tracy was straight up lying to the show, maybe more egregiously than anyone else who's ever been on the show.
Did you behave exactly as you would normally if the cameras weren't there?
I probably cheated a few times.
I don't know what cheated means in this context. You mean like cheated by eating in the bathroom at work? Like, I don't know what she means. But I hate when the contestants do this because it makes no sense. Why did you call the show in to film you eating if you weren't gonna eat? It would be so inconvenient to go on this show. It's so awkward. They're literally filming unflattering clips of you eating and filming you in your pajamas. And I mean, the big thing is here, you do have a mystery that you're trying to solve. It's funny because even with so little footage, one of the only things you could say about Tracy is that she is in fact a snacka. She's a snacka, okay? The only thing the camera caught her doing was snacking. Barely any normal meals, purely alcohol, takeout, and the occasional snack. But if you recall, it's actually important for Tracy to figure out what's going on here because, oh yeah, she gained a full stone in just the last month.
Put a stone on in just over a month.
Plus 42 pounds this past year. The show actually ends her section with saying this.
And you're currently eating around 100 calories more each day.
100 calories above her maintenance is the only thing that they could find. We can maybe assume that her weight gain has something to do with the alcohol based off the very limited stuff that we saw since she was drinking way more than she admitted to in her diary. But yeah, we have no idea, and then the show just moves on. Even though to gain weight as rapidly as she is, either the numbers are wrong or she's eating more than an extra Big Mac combo and a big ice cream cone on top of her normal meals in a day.
I probably cheated a few times.
Like, to be gaining weight so fast and then to not know where it's coming from and cheat on the show is crazy. But yeah, now it's finally time for sister number 2, Sharon. Is she also gonna lie to the camera, or is there something really medically mysterious going on?
Is convinced her home-cooked Arabic dishes aren't to blame for her weight gain.
Now, Sharon's actually pretty interesting because, as we know, she just moved home from Jordan after 19 years there, potentially because of a divorce.
The food there was amazing.
Now, I don't know anything about Jordan other than it's the home of Petra, that beautiful place with the monument or whatever carved right into the cliff. But right away, my immediate assumption about this place is it's gotta be healthy, right? I feel like Middle Eastern food is pretty healthy overall. So I looked up some Jordanian dishes and they seem pretty good. We got lots of chickpea-based dishes, olive oil, chicken and rice-based dishes, tons of veggies, herbs, yogurt, which would benefit your gut health. Everything seems great, and it should be a good thing for Sharon, who apparently eats Jordanian dishes 99% of the time.
I've brought back a lot of the recipes I used to use in Jordan. They're nice to eat, and too, they're healthy.
Plus, by the way, Sharon actually has a unique advantage over other contestants on the show. Sharon is a nurse, meaning that all day long, she is on her feet. She is moving around. That's one of the biggest things on this show. A lot of people just aren't moving around that much, and therefore it's hard to eat that much food at all in a day and not gain weight. And therefore, you have a few snacks here and there, you gain weight, mystery solved. But not true for Sharon. The combo of a job that causes you to be up and around and moving, plus healthy, fresh food, home-cooked food, should mean that it's easy for Sharon to maintain her weight.
I'm quite active, I eat healthy, and it's the only thing I can point to, the middle age spread.
So what's happening? According to Sharon, her daily diet looks like this: Weetabix for breakfast, yogurts and fruits for dinner, ? And a main of meats, vegetables, and salads, which prompts the host, Anna, to say,
From what you're saying, you are eating really well.
Yeah, definitely.
which is never a good sign. But it turns out the very first meal we see Sharon eat is in fact a salad. Yes, the first meal they get on film is Sharon making her and her sister a salad, which all starts out pretty great with cucumber and tomato. However, by the time it's done, it's like no salad you've ever seen. And it very much so stretches the definition of salad. It ends up being this brown gloopy thing here because it turns out that this salad is actually 90% tahini. Now, if you don't know what tahini is, it's a sesame seed paste, and I would say that it's healthy, but it is basically just pure fat, making it about 90 calories per tablespoon. And our girl is not using 1 tablespoon. As you can see here, Sharon really globs it on there. Okay, this salad is seriously mostly just tahini. I tried to look up and find what exactly this salad could be, and I think it's called something called salatet tahini, aka tahini salad. So I guess that explains that. However, when I look through pictures, it seems like the tahini to other ingredients ratio on everyone else's salad was a little bit different than Sharon's. Like this and this, they are not the same. Now, I feel like this salad is the perfect example of how something can be technically healthy while still not being great for weight loss or weight maintenance. Anytime you're globbing fat onto something, you're adding a lot of extra calories, even if they're coming from a healthy source. Now, fat is great in a lot of ways. It keeps you full and satiated. You might find that if you have a meal without enough fat, you'll be hungry very shortly after. But with this amount here, it's just too dang much. I mean, I wonder if it could even taste remotely good the way that it is. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure food science wise, adding fat to a dish absolutely adds a lot of flavor because fat actually carries flavor. So the flavor from the vegetables will be enhanced by having some fat there. And it's also a texture thing. Fat really improves the palatability of most dishes. However, with both elements of this, there is definitely a point of diminishing returns. You quickly hit a point where you're not adding any more flavor and you're adding a sort of heavy mouthfeel that's not appealing. And when I saw her just continually plopping that tahini in the bowl, I had to wonder if she quote unquote knew how to season the salad properly. If you don't already know this tip I'm about to tell you, I'm about to change your life, okay? Your healthy cooking life is going to be massively improved just by the following piece of information. Here it is. The tip is salt. That's the tip. Specifically kosher salt. I use this exact brand here. Chefs of all types love kosher salt. You can also use sea salt or some other good salt, but don't use table salt. And the thing is with the salt is, salt does not just make things saltier. It actually brings out the flavor of whatever you're making. So if you make something and it's flat and it's not flavorful, the way I imagine a bowl of basically just tahini to be, the solution is usually just salt. And the rule of thumb here is, and you have to experiment obviously, but you can keep adding salt up until the point that it tastes salty. So you're looking for the point right before the dish would taste salty. And up until that point, all you are doing is increasing the flavor of your dish. And when recipes say season to taste, this is exactly what they mean. Of all the cooking lessons I have ever learned, this is probably the most fundamental one. This, if you don't already know it, will change your cooking game, especially a healthy cooking game, more than anything else. I honestly think back to all the dishes I made before I knew this tip that I thought were bad, but I really just had no idea how to salt properly. And health-wise, this really shouldn't be a problem unless you have hypertension or you already eat a lot of ultra-processed foods, because ultra-processed foods have sodium levels well beyond what a home cook would be adding with their hand. But yeah, if you've never tried doing that before, please try it out carefully and let me know how it goes, because this is such a simple tip, but it's such a game changer. Anyway, back to Sharon, whose tahini salad was actually a side dish for the main course, the jacket potato. So we got a jacket potato plus the quote unquote salad that both sisters went back for seconds on. It's definitely a high calorie dish. And they don't tell us the calories for the total meal, but they do tell us that Sharon's portion of salad ended up being 8 200 calories thanks to the tahini.
The same number of calories in this chocolate as there is in your tahini.
Plus, a quick important note here, this meal, you may have noticed, was really, really low in protein. And for someone who's in midlife like Sharon, protein is even more important because it is true that as you hit middle age, your hormones can actually make you hungrier. So they don't automatically gain weight, but part of this midlife spread thing is that people actually feel hungrier as they age. But protein is the most satiating macronutrient. It triggers GLP-1, it takes a really long time to digest, and research shows that people actually end up eating 10 to 15% less when they have a substantial source of protein with their meals. And not because they're trying to, just because they're less hungry thanks to that protein. Next, Sharon is making another home-cooked meal of what looks to be ground beef, peas, tomatoes, and rice, with 2 dolmas, which are grape leaves stuffed with rice and sometimes meat. And when I first quickly looked at this, I was like, this looks fine to me. I don't get what the problem is. But the show ended up telling Sharon that this plate was 1,000 calories.
Over 1,000 calories.
Really?
And I was like, okay, approximately 100 grams of ground beef equals 300 calories. 100 grams of diced tomatoes, 25 calories. 100 grams of peas, 81 calories. 100 calories of dolmas, and 100 grams of rice, 130 calories. So where's the problem? So I go back and look, and I notice that the rice is actually a huge pile of rice. I can see from another angle here, and if this was actually a 300-gram pile of rice, well, now the math is starting to make more sense. Plus, the show shows that she really keeps kind of globbing in the butter into the rice, as well as whatever cooking oil she maybe used. All of it can add together to become a meal that's really high in calories, but didn't actually need to be. But you see, in this case, Sharon was actually eating what appeared to be a pretty healthy home-cooked meal. But a few small mistakes added up to Sharon consuming way more calories than she thought. She went back for seconds, she overpiled her plate with rice, and she didn't hold back on high-calorie additions like butter and tahini. And if she didn't do those things, she probably wouldn't have even noticed much of a difference, right? The food would have tasted basically the same, except it wouldn't have all added up to weight gain. All that together equals, boom, weight gain.
So you've never looked at the calories, never really looked at the ingredients?
No, I had no idea.
If you struggle with your weight at all, it is extremely valuable to spend a period of time tracking your calories. Get a kitchen scale, weigh out your food for a while, get to know the different values of the different foods that you like to eat. You don't necessarily need to commit to it for life, but just knowing that information will serve you very, very well. And it's information that can potentially prevent or even reverse a mysterious middle-age spread. Because as the show keeps tracking Sharon, they don't find that many crazy eating habits. She eats a huge plate for her Sunday roast, she snacks on some extra stuff, she has a few snacks here and there, and we know about all the extra fats and whatnot that she's been liberally adding. But unlike her sister, Sharon was actually eating basically what she said she was in her diary. She was pretty honest with her consumption. The only thing was she had no idea how many calories were in what she was eating. The food was actually about 1,000 calories more per day than she thought it was. I feel like this is one of the most useful secret eaters cases ever because it shows that it wasn't really middle-aged spread. It was actually, she just didn't really know what was happening, and she was making lots of little mistakes that costed her weight gain over time. In the end, with everything pointed out to them, both sisters admit that they are not medical mysteries.
I have been in denial. It's me, so I need to change.
And that the quote-unquote middle-aged spread was not the real issue all along.
I'm going to stop putting it down to middle-age spread or menopause to myth.
But I do want to end with a little more info on the middle-age spread because it is a real thing. Statistics show that starting in our 40s, both men and women can expect to gain some weight. And part of this is in fact because our biology does change in a way that makes it harder to maintain a healthy body weight. Hormones change for men and women, making us hungrier. Fat cells actually start producing at a faster rate, and we start losing muscle mass, all coming together to make it harder to not gain weight over time. However, none of those things mean that weight gain is unavoidable. And there are tons of things you can do to help prevent this from happening. Number one, resistance training. Probably the most helpful thing a person in their 40s or 50s can do for their long-term weight, and more importantly, health. Number 2, protein as a means of maintaining and helping build muscle mass. Plus, the more protein you eat, the more satiated you tend to be, as we talked about earlier, potentially offsetting the hormonal changes we talked about. And number 3, awareness, which is basically the whole lesson of this episode and every Secret Eaters episode we do. Awareness can help you change your behavior by literally making you more aware of what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and can of course help you avoid 1,000 calorie tahini salads. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.